Media, and next we are talking with Dr. Saffia Jacobs. We are going to be looking at a story, a very personal story about a family from Gaza who are wanting to come and resettle in South Africa. And of course, Dr. Saffia Jacobs, who is based in Johannesburg, is behind this move, trying to get this family to a place of safety, inshallah. Dr. Saffia Jacobs, welcome to the program. Salaam alaikum to you, and
Wa
nice to be talking with you once again.
alaikum assalam. Jazakallah khair for having me on the show again.
Okay, you are an activist, a social activist, and your might is, of course, behind the Palestinian cause. And you are doing everything you possibly can to help anyone, as many as you can, even if it's just one Palestinian person. I know that you've also been involved in, you are the founder of Way for Palestine and very active in all other issues regarding the Palestinian cause. So, talk to us about the evacuation of Dr. O'Day from Gaza. Is it just Dr. O'Day or Dr. O'Day and family?
So, Dr. O'Day reached out to me about 2 weeks ago, um, and he explained his story, saying that he is a medical doctor. He's 27 years old. He completed his medical school in Egypt, and then did his 1 year of internship, and then obviously after that, the genocide began. And he's basically then been working as a volunteer doctor in the pediatrics department at Al Aqsa Hospital. So now, obviously, going forward in terms of a future for him, there is none present in Gaza due to the massive loss of the healthcare infrastructure there. So he reached out to me saying that he would really appreciate any assistance, with regards to getting him out of Gaza, so evacuating him and potentially getting him to South Africa where he'd be able to maybe find work and set up a life and future for himself. So
Alhamdulillah.
we've been we've been
Because,
chatting
carry on.
quite a bit. And as I got to know him, I also found out that he suffers with a chronic kidney condition that he's had since his childhood, which has become steroid resistant. So it's usually treated with steroids like prednisone or cortisone. However, his condition has now become resistant to that. As a result, he requires treatment with a biological agent, which is almost close to impossible to get given the current circumstances in Gaza, and it is extremely, extremely expensive. In addition to that, his mom is a breast cancer survivor in remission who also requires hormone receptor blockers for at least 5 years post chemotherapy to ensure that her breast cancer does not come back. So she's also unable to get that medication in Gaza. In terms of his entire family, there are 8 adults and 4 kids, one of which is a newborn. So it's really a difficult situation. He's asked that we try and raise funds to get the entire family out. It is a huge task, and we are relying on everybody to please come together and pull their weight, and just, even if it's the smallest contribution, it really makes a difference. It's really sad that the Palestinians that are trying to evacuate are being subjected to very hefty sums of money that they've got to pay at the border in order for them to get across. So this is where the biggest issue comes in terms of raising these funds to allow them to cross the border.
So, Saffia, Dr. O'Day's family is one of thousands of families, possibly, who wanting to leave Palestine, and that this would suit the Israelis' agenda, would it not, for as many Palestinians to find a safer place to live in rather than remain in Palestine, because they want to get rid of the Palestinian people. So why do they make it so difficult for them at the borders? Who is it that's extracting vast sums of money from these people who are wanting to leave to probably get to a place of safety?
So look, as you say, this suits the Israeli agenda perfectly. What I want to make known is that the Palestinians really do not want to leave their homeland, but they have no choice. They've been put in a situation where Gaza has become almost uninhabitable, um, in terms of there's no food, there's no water, the aid getting in is so restricted. They are living in tents, almost all of them. And you know, it's actually what's going on at the border at the moment is that on the Egyptian side, they are basically charging these Palestinians for them to get across. So it's not really, but as far as I know, as far as my knowledge goes, it's not really controlled by the Israelis.
Okay, so what other logistical challenges do you believe you'll face here? We do know that you are banking on us as South Africans to try and do a fundraiser for this family, and I have no doubt in my mind there'll be many other such families who are going to be wanting us to support them, to get money across to them, to bring them to South Africa and get them resettled here. Talk to us about how we go about it logistically, financially, and otherwise.
So, as you say, it is a bit complicated. It's not straightforward because getting money directly into Gaza is almost impossible if we try to do that from South Africa. It's got to go via a different channel or via a different country. So, for example, to somebody in Jordan or to somebody in Egypt, so somebody that's close by, um, who is in close contact with and can get the money directly to whoever you're trying to assist in Gaza. So from a financial point of view, as South Africans, what we can do is if you would like to support Dr. O'Day's fundraising campaign, I have set up a Backer Buddy page for him, which is South African based. If you go on Backer Buddy and you just type in Dr. O'Day, that's ODAY, his fundraising campaign should come up. There are also, like you say, so many families who are in a similar or same position that are trying to leave due to you know needing medical assistance or needing to reunite with their families or just needing to find some sort of better future for themselves and their children. And if you go on to GoFundMe, which is an international platform, fundraising platform, you will find tons and tons and tons of families. My intention is to try and focus my efforts on one family at a time, because if I try to help 10 families at once, I'm probably not going to get very far. So I've decided I'm going to try and help Dr. O'Day's family first and get as much funds as possible raised for them and then move on to the next family. So what happens is that I raise the funds and then I've got to get the funds across. So with Dr. O'Day, he has studied in Egypt, as I mentioned, and he's got a very close friends and colleagues in Egypt who are willing to assist, that he trusts. So I would then have to do a transfer to Egypt to get the monies across to his friend, and they will then get the money to him in Gaza. But to get the money directly into Gaza from South Africa, that's not possible.
What sort of figures are we looking at?
It's a lot. So per person, you're looking at about $5,000 to $10,000 per adult to get across the border. Um, so for Dr. O'Day's family, we've set the target at $40,000, which is almost 800,000 rand. Um, so it is quite a massive amount, but I have hope and faith in us as South Africans that we can just come
Inshallah.
together and inshallah just contribute whatever you can in your capacity. And if you are unable to contribute, that's okay. Please just share the campaign with your family and friends, and you never know who's in a position to actually make a change.
So, Saffia, we do know that Gaza is all but in smithereens. I mean, people who are still living there have lost absolutely everything that they own, including their paperwork, their documents, their passports, etc. How much of a challenge is that then going to be?
This is going to be a huge challenge, even with Dr. O'Day and his family personally, because to verify him, I had to actually ask for a whole lot of his documents before, I took on, this initiative of helping him. So a lot of the things that I needed from him in terms of medical paperwork and, investigations, doctor's letters confirming, his diagnosis, his mom's diagnosis was a bit difficult to get. But what he managed to do is that he had a lot of pictures of these things on his phone that he managed to send to me. A challenge is that, for example, his mom's passport expired in about September last year. And obviously, when everything started, there was no way that she was going to be able to renew it. So the first step is trying to get them across the border into Egypt. And then the next challenge is going to be getting them out of Egypt, because that's just a temporary sort of measure. And doing that while his mom has a expired passport, that's going to be a very big challenge.
I'm wondering if you could reach out to the Palestinian ambassador here in South Africa, and see if they can assist, as regarding all of the paperwork is concerned. I think they'll be more pleased to hear that we as South Africans are trying to get families, even if it's just one at a time, resettled in a place of safety. So that might be a port of call for you as well. So, how is your Backer Buddy page going along? When did it go up? And are you seeing support for this family already?
It went live around Saturday, and we are seeing support. We've raised so far about 24,000. Um,
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, look, every bit counts and every little bit is a win. Um, and we just, inshallah, we've done our best, and we now make dua that it's all in Allah's hands, and He's going to assist us in getting to our goal.
So, Safia, that's your first step. Alhamdulillah, we hope and pray that you raise the funds in the shortest possible time. But the bigger challenges are going to be when the family lands in South Africa,
Mhm.
because there's going to be issues around proper documentation, housing, schooling, work opportunities, and the list just goes on. Are you
Mhm.
going to cross that bridge when you get to it, or are you already starting a plan of action?
So I've not started a plan of action for that yet, because at this point I'm feeling very, very overwhelmed,
I
because
should imagine.
there are so many families, and on my Instagram, I'm so scared to open my messages because they're just piling up, and every single family is like, please help us. And I feel horrible. My heart bleeds and breaks for every single family. Each one of them has such a touching story, but like I say, it's so impossible for me to take on all of that. So at this point, I'm really just focusing on getting the funds raised, and inshallah, once that's done and we can get them moved over into Egypt, then I will try and focus on getting them, inshallah, to South Africa. In terms of getting them, well, in terms of post evacuation, when they arrive in Egypt, I'm working with a South African sister who lives in Canada. Her name is Zahira. She has set up a campaign where she is fundraising for the refugees once they evacuate and they get into Egypt. So she's working. She's got a team on the ground who's working on housing and food and healthcare and those kinds of things for them once they get into Egypt. And then after that, the next step begins.
Inshallah, I hope and pray it goes well. I have no doubt in my mind that
Ameen.
with Ramadan being around the corner and we all wanting to do our bit, wanting the sawab by helping fellow Muslims in dire straits, I have no doubt in my mind people are going to dig deep into their hearts and their pockets, and the O'Day family will be one of many families that you will help bring to South Africa and resettle, inshallah. Thank you indeed. Is there anything else we need to know before we let you go?
I just want to say to whoever's listening in or watching that for a very long time we've all been feeling helpless, and that we wish we could do something more tangible. We wish we could do something to stop the genocide or whatever the case might be. So I've decided that I'm not going to focus on trying to do what I cannot control, but rather push my effort and my energy into where I can make a difference. So this is an opportunity for you to make a difference. This is a tangible way where you can actually save this family and give them a chance at a decent future and life. So I urge everyone who is able to, please, please, the link is there. Please contribute if you are able to.
Inshallah, Ameen. I have no doubt it's going to be really hugely successful. Allah accept all your efforts, inshallah, and may you resettle many, many more Palestinians here in South Africa and give them a hope for the future. Thank you indeed, Dr. Saffia Jacobs. Carry on the amazing work. Assalamu alaikum to you.
Salam.
It is exactly 9 o'clock. News and views on Salam Media. In a minute or two, we're going to be joined by our correspondent, Zai Jadwid, with the news on the hour.